Hello. My name is, as I was introduced in a language I don't understand, Lode Desmet. I'm a documentary maker from Belgium. And I came here tonight. I was invited to talk about the documentary I recently made called The Majority Starts Here. Now, I make documentaries because I believe in democracy. I believe that what I do has an essential role, a small role, but an essential role in democracy, namely bringing information into the system, which I think is very important, or thought was very important, or sometimes think and sometimes don't, because with age you grow a bit cynical and you think like, is it all so important what I try to do? And this film marked my spot in making me aware how important it continues to be what I do, how important it is to continue to try to fulfill that task that I set myself for democracy, because democracy is a task. The Majority Starts Here is a film about 6 youngsters who travel through the region for 3 weeks. The film was commissioned to me by an organization called BIRN, Balkan Investigative Reporting Network. And what they wanted to do is to gather these 6 youngsters from 6 different Balkan countries and let them meet all kinds of witnesses who lived through the wars here over the past decades. People who were soldiers and also people who were witnesses. I got to choose them. I talked to a lot of people on Skype, and first I thought, I'll just go with a bunch of women, only six women, because wars are always caused by man, and you have this whole male chauvinist pig attitude in the Balkans. But in the end, I went for these 6, 3 young women and 3 young men. I'll present them to you. That's Bart from Kosovo, George from Montenegro. Here below is Zvonimir from Croatia, Vanya from Bosnia and Herzegovina, Simona from Serbia, and Magda from Macedonia. Gosh, I was so afraid beforehand that I was going to forget one of these names. This picture is actually taken in Kosovo. Because to my surprise, at one point they came to me and they said, can we go and play paintball? We want to play war a bit. And I thought, well, but you're traveling around the region to talk and reflect about war, and now you want to play at war. How does that work? I didn't say that. I also didn't say what I also thought was like, great footage. But that's not why I'm showing you this picture. I'm showing it because I didn't know what to expect beforehand of this film. I didn't know what was going to happen, and also didn't know what the title was going to be, The Majority Starts Here. The title actually came up during a discussion I had with them about how representative they were. I asked them, who do you represent? I mean, you're 6 youngsters, you seem to be quite well off. You're not rich, I know, but they have mobiles, they have laptops, they have a future. I mean, they're certainly not poor. And they said, hey, but you don't realize, I mean, you're from outside, but the majority starts here. And suddenly I had this click. This could be the title. But then I started wondering, but why does it click? Why do I instinctively feel that this is a good title, that this is something important? Important beyond the Balkans even. And I think it's all in those 4 words. The majority starts here. With them, with me, with you, with us, with me. Democracy is a system with 2 elements, the majority and me. And maybe that me is too often forgotten. We often make democracy the same as the majority. The majority rules, the majority has to decide. But think of it, that majority has a lot of flaws. In the first place, because in the first place, many countries don't have obligatory voting. So that means that a lot of people don't go to vote. So in the end, can the result be called the majority that decided? I mean, the United States, for instance, the election of Barack Obama in 2012, he was elected with 28%, well, he was elected by 28% of the 18-year-old people above 18-year-old in the States. That's 1/4. Is that a majority? In Belgium, we have obligatory voting. So there, you could say, it's really a majority that governs the country eventually, because people go to vote, parties get votes. According to the votes they get, parties have members in parliament, and then coalition government is set up by these parties. So there you could really say it is the majority that eventually decides who governs the country, because everybody votes. But then Belgium has two parts, a French-speaking part in the south and a Flemish-speaking part in the north. And in the last elections, in the south, French-speaking part, the socialists won with 30% of the votes. They were the biggest party. In the north, the Flemish-speaking part, the Flemish nationalists won, also with 30% of the votes. They were there the biggest party. So these two had to try to form a government together. And it took a year, a world record, and eventually a government was made with the socialists, but without the Flemish nationalists. And so a lot of people in Flanders felt like, is this government representing me? Is this the majority? A third example, the UK. They work with constituencies. Each constituency sends a member of parliament to London. You get the seat of your constituency if you have the most votes in your constituency. Doesn't mean you have to have a majority there. No, you have just have to have the most votes, and often it's only 30–35%. So that means that 65 to 70% of these votes are wasted. Majority? But if the majority doesn't rule, who does then? And according to the kids in the film, here in the Balkans, and I believe it's often true in other places in the world as well, the country is governed by those who shout the loudest. That's what they said. Here in the Balkans, countries are governed by those who shout the loudest. And I'll show you a fragment of the film now, in which they felt very bad about that, because they just met someone who they considered to be part of those loud shouters. It's a Serb war veteran. He went to war in Kosovo, he went to war in Croatia, and he told them, if my son would do the same thing, go to war for his country, I would be very proud of him. They felt so bad. And they felt so bad not only because of what he said as such, but also because they realized that in every one of their countries, in Kosovo, in Croatia, the same thing happens. The same people say very loudly these kind of things. Okay, let's see whether we can watch a part of the film.
Ovo su naši pali drugovi koji su poginuli na raznim ratištima. Dobio je poziv od države i on se javio, otišao u Vukovar i poginuo tamo. Mlad, točkom. Nakon toga, kad je on poginuo, posle 2 meseca mu se otac bacio sa sličnom ubistvom. Kaže, važnije je život nego teritorija. Molim? A mi će da Kosovo vrati on prijatelju. To je naše. Nema šanse.
To mene najviše zapravo sekira, to me toliko brine. To me toliko brine što ja sam nesposoban išta promijeniti.
Ali nisi ti nesposoban, on je takav čovjek.
Se mora postojati neki način, ali šta da je ovo?
The victims that we saw before are a result of brains like this one. So we know that it exists. It's just different when you see it in person.
I feel uncomfortable with myself that I can do anything about it. That I can't talk with him, he will never listen to me, that I can do anything. And that's what makes me the most upset of everything. So he's putting his state before his family. So he'll be proud if his son, who is 17 years old, so what died in a war for his country. I think the state should serve the people, not people to the state.
He's one of those guys where whenever he's around, everybody feels uncomfortable. And he just proved that. He made me feel uncomfortable as an Albanian, you as a Croat, him as a Montenegrin, Macedonian, and also the Serbs who were present. And unfortunately, people like him were raised and taught and brainwashed that.
No. Do you remember what we said first when we were in the Chetnik village? You and many of us still said that, well, what do they know? They're from a village, right? Well, here's this guy, he's not from a village, you know?
The question is what to do with these kind of people. You can't do anything.
I would say, I'm not sure whether I'm right or wrong, I would say that people like him are starting to become a minority nowadays. I don't think it used to be like this, but the problem with these kinds of people is that they are always the loudest ones.
Yeah.
Always the loudest ones. And that's the problem, because then you think, oh my God, this is the majority of the country, and when the truth can be completely different.
There is 10,000 people in his community that think like him.
A small army.
10,000 people.
New war in Kosovo.
What to say about it?
I guess I'm gonna see him again.
No matter when, after
160 years.
yeah, but you will see him.
Jesus.
Yeah, they were a really sweet bunch of guys. But let's have a look at Kosovo. Who shouts the loudest here in Kosovo? From the outside, from where I live in Belgium, up in the north, what I hear the loudest is independence. You wanted independence, you got independence, and you're going to keep independence. But what I'm always wondering about is, what would you do for independence? Okay, you would go out and vote for parties who defend independence, I guess. Huh? Everybody agrees? Yes, probably. But would you go and demonstrate in the streets if independence is under threat? I guess most of you would say yes also, although you know how it goes. You have a hangover, you're in bed in the arms of your girlfriend or boyfriend, your mum is ill, you have your back aches, or you have schoolwork to do. More tricky. Would you stay here in Kosovo for the rest of your lives, give up your own future to build that independent Kosovo? Are you prepared to do that? Yes. Okay, another question. Would you, if independence is under threat, take up a gun and shoot at a person with eyes, with a beating heart, to defend that independence? Would you do that? I don't know, it's a hard question. And I'm an idealist, so I kind of think that the majority of people would not really dare to do that. I asked the question once to a friend of mine, and she said, well, you know, I would be a very bad shot, so you wouldn't have, I mean, don't give me a gun, but I would be part of the people who go and smuggle guns into the country to defend independence. So I insisted a bit, and then we got into a huge row. But the question remains, would you take up a gun to take someone's life to defend the independence of Kosovo? It's a tricky question. It's a tricky question, I know. But it's a question that is important because of the point I want to make. Democracy, taking decisions as an individual, what you want to do with your country, is something that takes thinking. Deep inside yourself, takes deciding. It's a task. Democracy, just like freedom, is not only a right, it's a duty. It's something that you have to work for every day. It's not about following the media and running after the one who shouts loudest. It's really an everyday task of thinking through what you really want inside yourself and then go to vote and try to take decisions together with other people. And of course, that's difficult. I mean, there's so many issues that you have to decide on, not only independence, but economy, so many issues that you have to follow, and you have to gather all that information and think it through and talk about it. And you get tired of it. I get tired of it. I mean, I have children. I have one who is 3, one who is 6. I have a daughter who is 18. I have my wife. I have to work. I mean, I can't cope with it. But still, the bunch of people I traveled with for 3 weeks made me realize that I have to continue to try to do it. And that's what I wanted to try to tell you tonight. Democracy is a task. It's worth working for. And it's not going to work if you don't take it too hard. I'm going to sound a bit cheesy, but you should think about it this way. Don't ask what democracy can do for you. Ask what you can do for democracy. Thank you.